guys, don't you just love Christmas time? That time of year where everything is holly and jolly? That time of year where 90% of the radio is Mariah Carey and Michael Bublé? The time of year where the only socially acceptable thing to watch are Christmas movies and TV specials? I really do too, and one of my favorite things to watch this time of year is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. No, not this one. This one. That's right, my Christmas go-to is the 2002 version of The Grinch, or as the internet has dubbed it, the Jim Carrey version. I had only watched the original Grinch twice before deciding to make this video, so that is what made me want to review this version specifically. So without further ado, let's get it. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is a hand-drawn Christmas movie directed by Chuck Jones that was released in 1966. This movie was based on a book by the same name by Dr. Seuss. Since then, it has become a classic Christmas movie, gaining an 8.3 on IMDb, 100% in Rotten Tomatoes, and a 95% audience rating. This shows that this movie has become legendary. However, there are still some things about the movie that are not the greatest to today's standards. Those are the things that I'll touch on in today's video. However, before that, I want to begin by saying I have no ill will toward the people that made this movie, especially since I know personally I could not make a movie any better than they did. Also, the rating will be done on a 10-point scale. Each section will start at a 5-point baseline and either gain points or lose points depending. If you get below 5, that's a fail. 5 and above is good, 10 is great, and above 10 is spectacular. With that out of the way, let's start with the audio. The audio is a very important part of a movie, as the score can either enhance or detract from what is happening on screen. For the most part, the score gets overshadowed by songs such as Welcome Christmas or You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. However, when you delve deeper into the score, you start to realize that the score does a lot to enhance the movie in ways that you did not notice before. My only gripe is that when you listen to the score, there is no version without the narrator, plus lots of the quote-unquote score is just sound effects in disguise. However, those are just nitpicky things. Next are the sound effects. Personally, they are added in just the right places. However, there's one time in the movie they use a sound effect twice in a row, and I had to point it out. And I found a second instance while re-watching it for this video. Even with this, however, the movie is still amazing in this front. The next aspect of this movie I would like to touch on is the art style. Now, for today's standards, the animation is a bit outdated looking. However, it is a hand-drawn animation and still looks amazing. It has that classic look that old Charlie Brown cartoons have, which I absolutely adore, so I will not remove any points here. However, something that annoys me is how the animation looks amazing, but some of the exact same scenes were used shot for shot multiple times in the film. I have to subtract quite a few points for this since it seems really lazy to cut corners like this, at least to me personally. Another nitpick is a scene with Max pulling the sleigh. There's a string attached to Max's horn 1 minute, however it is gone the next. Nitpicky, I know. The final aspect of the art style that I must touch on is the character designs. The characters have such amazing designs, and the Grinch having his classic look, plus Max having so much life when he's on screen, with the animation using Toon Force perfectly, with Max having the prime example of this. Personally, the best part of the movie was when the Grinch was using the ornaments as pool balls and shooting them into the bag through the gutter. That portion of the animation was spectacular. However, a part of the movie that was skipped completely was the characters. There are a total of 3 named characters: Cindy Lou Who, Max, and the Grinch. That is it. The only character development that happens is when the Grinch's heart grows 3 sizes. I understand that this is inclined with the book, however I feel like Jim Carrey's Grinch had a much better list of named characters and gave them a more personal feel, plus made us like the Grinch throughout the movie, whereas in this movie we are only really supposed to like him at the end. Hey, leave a like if I should do a character deep dive on characters from this movie and the other Grinch movies and do a little bit of comparison. Finally, the plot. This part of the movie is a classic, and the movie is only 26 minutes long, so the pacing is really off. Some scenes go on quite a bit longer than I feel like they should have, and these scenes tend to be the most uninteresting scenes in the entire film. The plot goes as follows. The Grinch is a green thing that lives above Whoville on a mountain named Mount Crumpet. It is Christmas Eve, and the Grinch hates Christmas for some reason. Never really explained, although it is assumed that his heart's too small. He wants to stop Christmas, so he dresses up as Santa and goes around stealing everything from Whoville, then goes to the tip-top to dump it. Then instead of being sad, the entire town of Whoville decides to sing, which gives the Grinch a realization that Christmas is more than presents, which makes his heart grow 3 sizes, so he slaves the sleigh filled with the soul and stuff and rides back to celebrate Christmas along with the Who's. It is a classic story and has a ton of charm, even to this day. Now it's time to start our ratings, starting off with audio. Starting with a 5-point baseline, Welcome Christmas will add another point. Trim Up the Tree, which is a song that plays at the beginning of the film, is very well done and fits the Who's very well, so it'll add half a point. However, the shift from music to speaking can be jarring, so I'll dock half a point. The score complements very well, so I'll add a point. Your Mean One Mr. Grinch will obviously add 1.5 points for being classic and amazing. However, there are 2 instances of sound effects being used way too close together. One in the noise scene, and the other in the traveling to Whoville scene, which I just showed you. These can make the audio a little bit annoying, so I'll dock half a point for each instance. These all total to a 7.5 in the audio department. This means that the audio was good. Second is animation. Starting off with a 5-point baseline, and the instruments in noise scene are very cool and well designed, making that scene a bit more bearable to watch, so I'll add 1.5 points. The use of Toon Force throughout this movie is very spectacular. It gives a sense of morning cartoons and makes the movie very fun to watch, so I'll add 2 points. The stealing Christmas scene is the best scene in the entire movie. For that, I will add 1 point. The classic 60s style of animation gives me a sense of nostalgia that stems from me watching Great Pumpkin as a kid. For that, I'll add 1.5 points. However, the problem stems from the fact that there were 8 instances that I could catch of scenes being reused. This does not include the same scene being reused multiple times, mind you. For this, I will subtract a total of 4 points, which accounts to half a point each. This totals out to 7 in the animation department. It could have gotten a very good score if they did not reuse scenes so much. Honestly, I might have even missed a few. Third is characters. Starting off with her 5-point baseline, the Grinch is a classic Christmas character whose design and attitude have been a key part of Christmas for decades, so I have to add 2.5 points. Next is Max. Max has always been awesome, however in this movie he seems like less of a character, so for that I'll only add 1 point. However, the lack of character backstory in this movie is a bit saddening, as these characters are very interesting. So I would like to have seen why the Grinch hates Christmas so much, besides the fact that his heart's too small. For this, I'll subtract a half point. The dynamic between the Grinch and Max is also kinda odd, because through the movie, it seems that Grinch dislikes Max and gets annoyed with him every second, which does not make very much sense for his character. So for that, I'll subtract a point. This totals out to a 7, which makes a lot of sense and doesn't seem like a bad score whatsoever. Finally, plot. Firstly, starting off with our 5-point baseline. Since this story is a classic, I have to at least give it props for that, so 1.5 points are awarded. However, the noise scene goes on for way too long, which will subtract a half point. And the scene where Cindy Lou Who is being served at the feast goes on for way too long, which will subtract another half point. Finally, the Grinch's heart grows after he hears the true meaning of Christmas, which does not make sense in the context of the movie. It is never explained why he hates Christmas, so he, theoretically, in this lore, should not give 2 shits that Christmas is not so commercialized. So, for that little plot hole that I found, I'll subtract a half a point, which totals out to 5. This is surprising for me, however it makes sense, as I did not have too much to praise on it, besides it being a classic. Overall, this movie is good, and I had fun watching it every time, even the 3 separate times I had to watch it for this video. I was a little harsh on this movie, not only because it's a classic and needs an honest and impartial review for once, but also because most of these things that I touched on would not have happened if the movie were to have been made today, which gives it a little bit of charm. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. Please leave a like on this video and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time. Bye!